Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Play to Win podcast, a show where we break down the week's biggest gaming news through in-depth discussion. My name is Tyler. I'm your host for episode 82 of the Play to Win podcast, and I am joined, of course, by Tyler, my co-host. How are you doing this week?
I'm very tired. What's going on? tired, but ready to talk about games.
Yeah, I can kind of see it in your face. Like you look like it's been a week. And I'm here.
Hey, that's not an insult. When you're running off of 3 hours of sleep and someone's like, I can only kind of tell, you take that as a win.
Yeah. I mean, but hey, you know what? More power to you because you come with the energy. You come with the energy, and when you're talking, we can't tell that you're so deprived of sleep.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the less sleep you have, the more delirious you become sometimes. You ever feel that way? That's how I feel.
Yeah,
maybe that's just a family trait.
That happens to me sometimes. And I don't know if I'd say it's less sleep, but I've had this happen to me before when I'm on the phone with my girlfriend at night, right? Sometimes, and if I'm really tired, I'll be kind of dozing while we're on the phone, and then I'll wake up and say something because I thought I heard her talking. I will just say something because I thought, oh, she said this. So say for example, we're talking, and she said to me, well, I thought she said, Final Fantasy X is an amazing game. I'll be like, yeah, it's really great. It's a really great one. Really fun game right there. Not my favorite. And she'll be like, what are you talking about? I'll be like, wait, you didn't just say this? No, I didn't.
Oh no. At all. My sister's a prime example of how I guess our family is, but when she's going on 20 hours, no sleep, stuff like that, she just gets delirious energy, just start real crazy energy. And I'm kind of the same way. There's that point where you go from tired, extremely tired, I'm about to pass out, but I can't because for whatever reason I have to stay up. And then you cross a threshold to where you're like, it's all bonus energy. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on whenever I'm tired. I'm like, it's my body and my brain overcompensating and being like, all right, we gotta be wired.
Well, I'm happy to have you here with us, here with me, bringing your energy, bringing that, that I don't know. It's just a level of energy and excitement that, it's welcome. It's always welcome. It's nice to have. Really brings the show to life. Of course, as always, subscribe to the Play to Win podcast on podcast services. If you are on YouTube, hit that notification bell, leave a like and a comment as well. Let us know how you enjoy the show. If you're on podcast services, that 5-star review, very helpful, very much appreciated. Leave it on down there. This week is another light week. It's been a bunch of light weeks back to back to back. But this week, we have a huge story in the reveal of the PSVR2's price and release date. Bit controversial. We'll get into that. EA and Marvel have announced that they have a partnership, a game deal going on here. And we will do this week a news segment we were going to do last week, doing it this week, called Bring It Back. But we will talk about that when the time comes. The first thing that we are going to talk about this week is, of course, the big reveal, the big news from PlayStation that the PSVR 2, it now has a release date, it has a price. The price, somewhat expected from some people, somewhat not expected from others. It's a bit controversial. You ready to get into this?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive in. I was gonna say, if you didn't have a segment, I was like, didn't we talk about this? Was it 2 episodes ago, 3 episodes ago, or something about that? Yeah, maybe it was pre-show even. I don't know. I just know I remember us talking, and I think I said, and quote, there's no way it can cost more than the PlayStation 5, right?
You did say that. You did say that a couple weeks ago.
Boy, did they want to prove me wrong.
They proved you wrong, and they proved me wrong too, because I thought that it wouldn't be more than the console, but I figured that it would likely be the cost of the PS5. But for context, everybody, the PSVR 2 will be releasing on February 22nd, 2023, and it will cost $550. Again, $550, February 22nd, 2023.
US dollars.
Yes, US dollars to be specific.
Inside for all of our international listeners out there.
Inside the box is the headset, the new Sense controllers, and stereo headphones. I imagine these stereo headphones are just like in-ear buds. Because on the
They're
box it has
probably
like
Garbo quality. Yeah, I think it's so
probably.
hilarious every time they say stuff like that. Like it's a real value. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like
$5 headphones, man.
yeah, it's probably just a little something just to get you started in terms of those headphones. There is also a Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle that will be available for 600 US dollars. It's, comes with everything else that the main one does, just also comes with a PS Store, a PlayStation Store code voucher for Horizon Call of the Mountain. Pre-orders start on November 15th. So very soon, actually, you'll be able to pre-order this if you so choose.
I'll be trying to pre-order it. As much as
Oh,
I will give it
oh,
flack, I'll probably pre-order it.
so perfect. I was literally about to ask you, what are you thinking about this price? Are you high? What are you? Where are you feeling? Are you disappointed by it? Are you going to be getting it? Like, what were you thinking?
I mean, so here's the thing, right? We can get mad about 550, but if we were expecting 500, like I'm not sitting over here in an ivory tower. I'm struggling to make ends meet just like everyone else. But also it's $50, man. Like, are we really gonna be like, this is an outrage, blah, blah, blah? Like the Horizon bundle, like I don't know. It probably would have been Goodwill if it was 550 and just came with Horizon, but then I don't know,
Yeah,
are you gonna sell Horizon, I guess, is or like I don't know. I can see why they did it, but I think from an optic standpoint, maybe just throw in the game for free, but clearly Sony did not see it that way. There's a lot of comments saying, in a way, this is almost a death blow. It's going to be niche, and I feel like that's a little doom and gloom. But also, I think it's fair to say, regardless of the price, unless this thing was $300, it might have been a death knell from the start. I think it probably opens a broader can of worms. It's like, is VR relevant in 2022 given the very expensive price tag that's associated pretty much across the board and how split everything is? I don't know. I think it's interesting on a broader slate, but like I also think some of the conversation about 500 versus 550, it's like, listen, man, it's $50.
yeah. I personally was expecting 500, but when I saw the 550, I was like, that makes sense too. It's not much more expensive than I was expecting. And also, like Sony just increased the price of the PS5 everywhere in the world aside from the US as well by, again, for simplicity's sake, about $50. So when that happened, I was like, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if the PSVR is more than 500 given that increase. So this 550 US dollars here, I was like, not that surprising, a bit more than I expected and hoped for, but also not that surprising. If it was 600, would have been like, whoa, okay. Again, it is very much improved tech and all, and probably would have been, closer to being like meeting, like not selling at a loss at 600. It probably would have made sense as well, but that would have been too expensive for most people to go out and buy it. And even this 550, I can understand people being really hesitant because again, VR, even though it has become more popular in recent years, thanks to the Quest 2 specifically. Like the PSVR did, its job in, I guess, expanding VR to more people. But the Quest 2, like, definitely did a great job of being wireless headset VR at an affordable price. It was only what
Yeah.
$300 and everything. Like it did a great job expanding the VR realm to a whole lot of
I
people.
think I
So
think, and this isn't like my sole thought, because I saw this in the comments, kind of like of different places I read about the news. I think people underestimate how cheap PSVR one even was. Like, I mean, adjusted for inflation, even the 350 back then was relatively cheap for a VR device, and it really was Sony's way. I think they were trying to get people to want to invest in VR in the future, and they seem, like determined to make VR a part of the PlayStation platform. Just like I said, even releasing this in 2022 does feel a tad weird. Um, but honestly, I think the real flack that deserves here is like, this list of games kind of sucks. Like
yeah,
I said, I'm I said I'm going to pre-order, but this is the discussion I had with myself. I think internally, whenever I looked at it, which is every time I look at this list, I go, you know what? I don't know. Actually, maybe we wait. Maybe we wait because it's like it is Horizon and nothing. And I think the fact as your local Astrobot rescue mission, which my sister and my niece and my brother visited in October, and we busted that out because my niece, she loves Astrobot, which brings so much joy to
Nice.
my heart. And
Nice.
it me and my brother were starting to platinum it again. We jumped on someone else's account. We're like, we'll platinum it for you. That's how much we love the game. But I think the success of the tech demo merged with real game, Astro's Playroom. I was forgetting the name for a second. I
Mhm.
think that plus like Astrobot Rescue Mission was one of the main reasons to get PSVR. The fact that it's not, they haven't came out and been like, at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything and been like the sequel is going to be PSVR
Yeah, they haven't
2
said anything about a sequel.
exclusive. Oh, man, it really feels like okay, so you're now no longer making one of the primary reasons to get the first one. Like I think with the success of Playroom, the second one's going to be just like they're going to let Team Asobi make a fully 3D, whatever their version of Astro's full, which is going to be sick in its own right. Like I'm just here to say it now. It'll be GOTY of whatever year that comes out,
Yeah.
and it's going to be like their version of Mario Odyssey or whatever. It's going to be their magnum opus, and it'll be wonderful. But it means like Sony. It feels in a lot of ways like Sony's leaving this thing to die.
Yeah, I would. Well, I'm going to say real quick. I would love to imagine that Team Asobi or Team. It's Asobi, not Asobo. Asobi. I would love
Yeah,
to believe that they are working on a sequel to Rescue Mission because, again, like you said, it was a critical success, like a major critical success. It only makes sense that, all right, we have this new VR headset, much better hardware. Let's get this team, our internal first party team that knocked it out of the park on PSVR to make a sequel on this even better hardware. That'll be like the showpiece, the thing that really gets people in. I'm kind of surprised that there isn't something like that for launch, but I guess they were working on I guess they were hard at work on Playroom for PS5 and everything, so it might make sense that they didn't have the time to make another whole thing for PSVR2. Who even says that they are working on a VR game for the next game? The next game may not be a VR game at all,
that's what
period.
I'm saying. I don't think the sequel is. I think it's a full fledged standalone PS5 game. And what Sony clearly did is they crunched the numbers and they said, all right, the weirdos out there who are obsessed with this game, like me, they're like, we're gonna get more money just converting all of the casuals into this new Astros game than we will like making
Yeah.
these people that are obsessed with the first one buy a VR2. They just basically like we're fine with that loss on the VR2, knowing that this now means someone like me may not have that incentive to go out and buy VR2.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess the trade-off is we're trading Astro for Horizon, which Horizon does look really cool. We just got to see, how does it turn out being. And let's get into this lineup of games here. They at the same day they announced this, the price and release date, they also announced 11 more games coming to PSVR. Not necessarily day one though. They just said 11 games coming in 2023. So
if you're a listener and you have not heard this list, I just want to prepare you, like there's a parental advisory or whatever. This list is ugly, man. It is what imagine the worst list of games minus Horizon you can possibly imagine. Now, like ports, just straight junk, Wii levels of junk. Now, imagine worse than that. Now go.
wow. You went hard. You went for the jugular right there.
It's
Um,
it doesn't look good.
yeah, I mean, it does look kind of bare to say the least. We have the Dark Pictures Switchback VR coming from Supermassive, which they had an Until Dawn game for PSVR, which I never played it. Of course, I don't have PSVR, but I heard good things about it. So I'm expecting this one to be at least, as good, hopefully. There was no date information about that on the PlayStation blog where they had this post. Crossfire Sierra Squad, that's just coming next year. There was no other date, just next year. The Light Brigade, which is a cross-buy game for PSVR and PSVR2. That's very good right there. Very good. No date information was there for that. Cities VR Enhanced Edition. That is releasing alongside PSVR2, so that'll be their day and date. We have Cosmonius High. There's no date information for that, but that is from the team that made Job Simulator, and there was another simulator game that they made for PSVR, which I believe both those were.
Vacation Simulator, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. And both those were received fairly well. And I watched the trailer for this. And it looks like it'll be like a fun, charming time. So I imagine this will be pretty good. Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue, which is another cross-buy one for PSVR and VR2. No date information was given for that. We have Jurassic World Aftermath Collection, which is coming sometime next year. Pistol Whip is coming next year. It'll be a free upgrade for PSVR 1 owners. Zenith, The Last City, is going to be there on launch day. I'm actually excited about that one. That's on Quest 2, and I've wanted to play it, but I haven't because it's, if I'm correct, it's like kind of like a VR MMO RPG kind of sort of game, and I'm like, that kind of fills the sort of online niche that I've always wanted to experience. Then there's After the Fall, which is coming next year. It's a free upgrade for PSVR owners. And then there's Tentacular. No date was given for that, but it's like a kind of more of a physics type of game where you're playing as this giant octopus squid type monster, and you can either terrorize a town or just have fun with it, whatever you want to do. Those are the games that they kind of said alongside the price and release date are coming next year to PSVR 2. And then we also know there's some other games we know about as well. Aside from Horizon, there's the tabletop game that they've talked about before, the tabletop D&D game. I forgot what the name of it was. Was it called Demio or something like that?
No idea. That's the kind of stuff in a presentation where my eyes glaze over the second you talk about it.
Well, yeah, there's that one. There's No Man's Sky coming to VR as well. The Walking Dead, there's the Saints and Sinners thing that's coming to PSVR 2 as well. So there's other games that have been announced for PSVR 2 in addition to these 11. But even still, taken as a whole, from the ones that we know of, PSVR 2's lineup, launch lineup, and just 2023 as a whole,
not good.
Doesn't seem that strong.
No,
really,
it does not. My apologies to Cosmonius High. I did not realize what game you were and what studio. They're pretty solid. So you're not included in this garbage. And like Pistol, but like it's the problem is it's just ports. It's really more than I would say garbage. It's just you can't have a list of ports be your launch games, man. Like,
yeah,
you can with a console everyone we know is gonna buy. Like I push back against the idea that the PS5 has no games because I thought even at launch it had arguably the strongest PlayStation launch ever. Outside of like maybe the 2, I think had a really good one. But like we were all going to buy the 5 no matter what. Thing was sold out instantly, blah, blah, blah. This is a luxury item, kind of needs like a killer lineup to start to like entice people. And listen, man, this isn't getting people in the door. Like I Pistol Whip on the I have it on the Oculus. Trust me, like it's wireless. That's fine. It's probably better than like this may be slightly like I'm sure graphically the fidelity and everything will be better than like Oculus, but I ain't paying $500 for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the challenge that PSVR 2 is definitely going to have. Like we all knew the price is going to be expensive. We all knew that for a fact. Not just for the headset itself, but the buy-in of the PS5 and the headset was going to be a $1,000 minimum right there for sure. So you have that, and it's competing with arguably the Oculus Quest 2. There is the 8, there is the Vive, there is the Index, but at a reasonable entry level, I guess you could say, quote unquote, entry level, it's competing with the Quest 2. You get what I mean? The Vive and the Index, you need a pretty powerful PC. That's a whole different story entirely. So it's competing with the Quest 2, which is completely wireless, and you only need the headset for that. It was $300, it's now $400, but you only need the headset. It's wireless, nothing else. So it's competing with that, and most of these games for it, as you said, are ports. There's no real thing that's making the PSVR 2 so far stand out aside from like the more unique features it has. But game wise, there's nothing saying I need this, unless if you already have a Quest headset or some other headset, or if you're new to VR, there's nothing saying why should I spend the 500 on this or the 1,000 to get in on this as opposed to just 300 on the Quest.
Yeah. And this is also turn on the TikTok camera. Sony, listen to me. If you are not going to fucking remaster Astrobot Rescue Mission and just put it on this thing, then for the love of God, do the PC deal and let me play Astrobot Rescue Mission on my Quest. PSVR1 sucks. You know that. That's why it's not backwards compatible. But if you're not going to put in the resources to make remasters and throw it on this thing, like, I'm begging you to just like make me the Fry meme and say, shut up and give me, and take my money.
Right.
I refuse to do it with this. Like, you're not even giving me, the PlayStation sicko out here, like, a reason to buy this thing. Nobody gives that much of a shit about Horizon. I'm sorry. I'm sure there'll be people in the comments if this somehow gets any traction. Oh, I love Horizon that much. No, you don't. You're a liar. You're just 100% someone that's like making up and mad that Sony squandered this bad. This launch lineup sucks. Nobody cares about Horizon that much. People do care about Astrobot that much. I care about Astrobot that much. Give me a remake. This is like, let people want to like these products. Give us a reason. What is this? Nobody cares about the pistol whip. I mean, like, I love pistol whip, but like, again,
Right.
there's other platforms for that. This is not the major platform for anyone.
Yeah, and it's gonna be rough. Like,
End rant.
no one's expecting PSVR2 to be a runaway success like the PS5, like the core consoles are. No one's expecting that. Like, even PSVR1, like, Sony knew it was gonna be rough. It was gonna be like a test bed to see how it goes and everything. They knew it was gonna be this huge success. PSVR2, they're taking, they have the learnings and all from it, but now it's really the question of, okay, is it going to get the proper support? We see the price, but we still know VR is niche. Will it get the support that it needs to be able to entice people to buy in on that and get in? And right now, just looking at the starting lineup of like 2023 as overall, it's not looking that bright. And I want Sony to show me that even if the 2023 for starting lineup might look dire, but we do intend to stand by this and actually support this with good, solid games. I want them to show me that, to prove that to me, because I don't want this to end up being a PS Vita a situation again, where like, hey, we tried it, didn't work out because we barely supported the thing. Like,
the way this thing is headed,
want.
the way this thing is launching, I mean, like, they'd be lucky to be PS Vita. I'll just say it. And this is coming from someone who views and considers and believes that Sony also views and considers the PSVR a success. Like, I think you would have to say PSVR, given expectations, like on the Sony misfit adventures here, I would say so far of like, was it a success or not? How does Sony view it versus the public? I think the public views PSVR probably a tier or two below, but I think given the expectations, probably given the profit margin, Sony probably has it at number one of these side children. Number two would be the regular PSP. And the public views that as probably more of a success than the PSVR, but I don't necessarily think that's true. Yeah. I think Sony expected more of it. And also, like, the library kind of sucks. Go back and look, guys. This isn't a hot take. There's not, okay, I've never played Metal Gear Solid, whatever that mobile one is, but here to say, guys, there's not a game better than Astrobot on PSP. Natively to the PSP.
Yes, I know what you mean.
We're not counting ports or whatever. You're like, oh, the PS2 classic, they got their, no, that doesn't count. And then we have the Vita. Then we have the PS Vita. And then where we're tracking right now is all the way on the floor. That's PSVR2.
Wow.
I always come into it's funny too. I never come into these episodes being like, this is what I'm going to get wound up about. It always just happens in the moment. I just get pissed off as I start reading. And the more I think about something, and you can see the wheels turning, and I'm just like, hey, you know what?
But here's my question for you, because at the start of this, you said that you were gonna be pre-ordering it.
I've talked myself out of it, yeah.
Oh, but now you're not going to.
I like, man, the more I look at that list, I'm like, and I know my girlfriend loves, like, she loves getting new tech, and she loves like pre-ordering stuff in the rush. And I know she's gonna be like, well, let's just get it. If we get the opportunity, I'm gonna be like, no, we're not paying this much money for this. And she's gonna be like, I know you're right, but also I still want to get it. And be like, no, we gotta resist temptation here and not like, even though we won't be charged for it till February. Like, I just feel too gross. Like, no.
Yeah. See,
this one's for Astrobot.
See, I'm not gonna be pre-ordering it, just mainly because money right now. I don't have the money to spend on it right now. I would love to get it though. And if I do end up getting it, I think I would be getting it like holiday season next year as like a gift to myself. Of course, that'll really be determined by what does the game lineup look at that time. Like if the game lineup is looking better and like in the present day holiday 2023 and 20 and looking better going forward in terms of like 2024, then I think I'm more likely to get it then. As of right now, I'm not going to be buying it right now. I'm not going to be there day one. And I can't fault anyone for saying, yeah, I don't think there's anything really there for me. Like, I think it's going to definitely struggle out the gate. And Sony's going to have to work really hard to prove to people that, hey, this is worth the money. We are committed to this. We stand by this. We do want to build out VR as another platform for PlayStation and not just a weird side project that we try to do stuff with for 2 years and then say, all right, third parties, you guys support it. We're out. We're out on this. And then just leave it to die. Like I don't want I think I don't want that to happen to it. And they're gonna have to work really hard to prove to people they're not going to do that.
That's so last thing I have to say about PSVR2. A, that is what's going to happen probably. But B, Sony. No. Well, and I don't blame anyone for being like, I'm not going to play this. Probably me neither at this price point with that list. But Sony, if you would like to shut up the hater, me, the person with the podcast, you can send me, one of those, whatever. I technically have to ship it back to you, but then you never tell me like you did with all the influencer PS5s. Send me a PSVR2 and own my ass, because I will be honest if I think it's great or whatever. And Sony, you see the zealotry I have for Astrobot Rescue Mission. If you really want me to feel that way about Horizon, then send me a PSVR2 with Horizon. I'll even pay for Call or Horizon if I get the VR for free. But send me that, and maybe then I'll shut up, and maybe I'll preach the gospel of whatever Horizon Call of the Mountain. But unless that's happening, it's not happening.
He'll get it and be like, I've seen the light. I have climbed the peaks and mountains of the world of Horizon, and I have seen the truth. Sony knows.
I don't shut up about Astrobot. This is never going away, Sony. Like, so this could be, this could be a Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Let us know what you all think down the
if it's that
section.
Good.
Yeah, if it's that good. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you all think that the PSVR2 is gonna do well? Are you gonna be buying it day one at this $550 price tag? Let us know what you think.
Let us know. Did you start out being like, yeah, I'm also gonna pre-order it, and by the end were you like, you know what, he's got a point, never mind?
Yes. Also, let us know that Tyler may have swayed other people's opinions on this, because you made a good case there. You made a good argument. You got a rough row ahead of them with the PSVR2. Let's switch over to EA and Marvel now, because they have announced that they are collaborating. They're going to be working together, similar to how EA worked together with Star Wars, on a 10-year deal, except this is not a 10-year deal. The commitment is not that long. I'm going to read directly a brief paragraph from the press release that EA and Marvel put out. They said here, quote, "Today we announced we will collaborate with Marvel on a long-term deal to develop at least 3 new action-adventure games that will be available for consoles and PC. Each of these games will be their own original stories set in the Marvel universe, with the first title in development being a single-player, third-person action-adventure Iron Man game coming out of Motive Studios," end quote. I'm fine with this. I'm oddly fine with this. That they're working together. They have a 3-game commitment right here. Are you okay with this, or are you like a bit hesitant because it's EA?
I mean, so both. So here's the thing. I am hesitant, of course, because it's EA. I think we all deserve the right. EA sucks. I don't know. If you want to be pro EA, the pro EA portion of this podcast, be my guest. I am not. It's me, your local EA hater, logging on. Give me SSX Tricky, EA. You want to shut me up? Those are my demands. But I just want a remaster. It doesn't even have to be new. Come on.
But then the response is going to be, we tried giving you SSX back in the day and no one bought into it. So no, we're not doing it again.
Listen, notice I said SSX Tricky, not I'm definitely a Tricky fanboy, not actually SSX. No, get that out of here. I want bright color. Just give me Tokyo Megaplex again, is what I'm really saying. That level rips. But this is like, I think it's smart because it's a short-term deal, 3 games. Like, I know game development time, that's that's can be 10 years and maybe 10 years, but I like that it's only relatively speaking short, just games wise. It's not like some long contractual obligation of like we get the license in perpetuity because sorry, I had a burp. So I had to
All
mute
good, all
myself
good.
because I think that's like where some of the complacency when you see like Madden and everything that EA is like annihilated with all these other licenses is like we've
Right.
got this license forever. We get this sweet deal. And I think obviously Disney does not want them messing this up.
Mhm.
And like, not to get ahead of it a little bit too much, but you put in some notes here, or I don't, did you already say that it happens purely because of the Star Wars deal?
I did not. We'll mention that right now, though. I mean, they did speak about in I believe it was a financial briefing after this announcement came out, talking about how this Marvel deal is happening kind of due to the success of the Star Wars deal for EA, because the Star Wars deal led to over 40% of Star Wars players going on to play other EA games. So they saw that deal as a success because of that, and EA is hoping that this Marvel deal can lead to similar results. So that's why we are doing this right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is I think part of the reason why it's okay to be like not as the world's ending about Marvel with this is it doesn't say that exclusively own like Marvel games. Like it's
Yes,
just
they do not.
I mean obviously EA makes the revenue from these games, but Marvel and Disney are still partnering with other studios and games, and it's just like there's more licenses than there like in unique properties in Marvel than there are studios out there. Like I promise you this is probably just cuz Disney went, well shit, like what who else can we give a game? They're still going to keep making Wolverines and Spider-Mans over on the PlayStation
Insomniac.
side of thing. I'm sure they're cooking up a deal with Xbox. Genuinely surprised we haven't gotten one with Nintendo, but Nintendo's weird. Like in the good and the best ways.
I
I
mean,
love
we
them,
had
but like
Ultimate Alliance 3. So I guess you could
that's
say that
true.
was
Yeah.
one. But we haven't had
I
like a
played like
specific
70% of
hero.
that game.
I finished it. I thought it was fine.
I thought it was fine. Yeah, me and my girlfriend played it. And then I think actually it's when we moved to Oregon, like shortly after, and then we just never came back to it.
I see, I see. But yeah, like I definitely think that this is definitely better, definitely the good way to go, not being locked in where like, all right, we're the only ones who can make Marvel games for 10 years because that led to, you know, how many years of them owning Star Wars, and we only got arguably one overwhelmingly good game, that being Fallen Order. The others we had were Battlefront, which people were like the first one, good, not great. And then the second one was just hampered by the microtransaction loot box mess. And then we got Squadrons, which people were like, good, not great. And then what we had mobile games here and there and all like that. But like that deal was largely just a mess. It kind of squandered the Star Wars IP by EA's part. So it's great that it's not a deal like that where like we're the only ones who can do the Marvel stuff. Like I feel like that Disney deal, that Star Wars deal that Disney did with EA,
It's not happening
but
again. Nobody's giving that to EA.
yeah, like well, I was gonna say more so like that was Disney's light bulb, their wake up call to be like, let's not do something like that again. Let's not do an exclusive long term deal like this with any company again. Let's just
Yeah.
give certain people certain games that they feel like they want to work on.
Yeah. Cause like you'd have to be catastrophically stupid to give EA the exclusive license to your property, right? Right? Insert the like NFL just sweating, right? NFL? God. Oh my God.
Just sitting there, just like, ooh. I mean, it's
Just
drop FIFA.
save football games and just please give it to someone else.
Exactly. So with all that about the deal right there, like, all right, this is why the deal's happening. This, we think this is a good deal. We agree with it. Let's talk about the games right now. We know Iron Man is being done by EA Motive. They're the ones who are doing the Dead Space remake. They did Star Wars Squadrons. They did a bit of work on Battlefront 2 as well, if I'm correct. I think they did like the space stuff as well. Um, we have heard rumors that EA is working on a Black Panther game. I think the rumors were that it was like a open world single player game where you're playing as a Black Panther. Like you're playing as someone coming into the Black Panther title. Like the previous Black Panther just died, but we know nothing about the game itself. No more than that. We don't know if we're playing as T'Challa or who else it is. But that's rumored. Then there's an unknown, this third game that we know nothing about, not at all. Here's my question. I want to pose this question. Who do we want to see get their own game? What hero, any Marvel hero you could think of, who do you want to see get their own game?
Do you have an answer? Because I'll wait. I'm trying to think here.
Well, I was trying to think of some before we started recording, and I only had two off the top of my head. I feel like Doctor Strange is the answer that I see so many people come back to because I feel like he's just begging for a game to be made. Like I think the possibilities with his move set, his power set, just the different spells and everything, can lead to some really cool gameplay opportunities, and just the different realms or dimensions he ends up going to can lead to some really artistically interesting and just visually amazing and wowing areas to explore in a game. It's just begging for a game right there from Doctor Strange. And yes, like maybe there are other studios outside of EA that would be better suited for it. Cough, cough, Remedy, cough, cough. But I mean, I would love to see a Doctor Strange game from, maybe EA could pull it off. Who knows?
So thought about it. I'm not like begging for a ton of games like, oh, I want this or that. There are some cool answers out there, just like outside of the one I'm going to give. Fantastic Four game would be pretty sweet. But also, after coming out of Gotham Knights, even though I liked that game, I enjoyed it for what it was. I no longer want studios to be like, I'm done with like, oh, well, you can play this single player game with your friends, but don't design shit around that anymore. I don't want that. I would want it to just be a single player game where you can swap characters. Like that hard shouldn't be hard to ask.
Question.
Gotham Knights says otherwise though.
Question. If they did Fantastic Four, if there was a Fantastic Four one, would you want it to be similar to how Guardians of the Galaxy did like the team stuff and everything, where like you play as only one and you give commands to the others? Or would you want to be able to switch between all four of them, like actually be able to control each member of the team?
I'd be fine with either. Like I give the team whatever they view as actually, I don't know. Playing as Human Torch would be sweet though. Yeah, no, let me control all four. Yeah, I'm like, actually, you know what? Because like that was part of the thing is like Peter's objectively the lamest guardian to like give full control to. So I think from a gameplay perspective, that limited you a bit. Even though I'm not like a full-fledged hater of the gameplay the way some people really like to go in on that game's gameplay. And I'm like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't get great until near the end. Like it didn't feel real great until then.
See, I just agree. I think it felt better. I thought it just got boring and repetitive as it went on. I thought the first couple hours I was like, yeah, it's fun, and then it was just like, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
My official answer, I'm locking it in. Give me a Nightcrawler game.
Oh,
I love Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is like my favorite X-Men, pretty much. Other than like, obviously, I love Wolverine.
Yeah.
Oh, and I like Magneto. Objectively, the X-Men are pretty sweet. Also, I'd be fine just they just give us another X-Men game finally. It's good. But I have a soft spot in my heart for Nightcrawler, and also like objectively one of the coolest move sets. So, either that or give us a Portal style game with what's her name, the one that was in X-Men. I think she was like the only good part of Apocalypse, or no, Days of Future Past, and it's like the Pokemon, or I said Pokemon, it's the X-Men. Sorry,
the Pokemon.
I have a pop culture jumbled brain. It's just like it can
jump
from one.
I know which one you talk about. Who she could like throw.
She throws up the portals, and then like that's the whole thing. Build a game around her. That would also be freaking sweet.
That would be cool. I forgot her name. Oh man, I'm blanking on it.
I know. I'll pull it up so that way people aren't sitting there going, "It's this."
Yeah, it's she. How could you not know her name? She's such a cool character.
Yeah, objectively, she has one of my favorite skill sets, but like that doesn't mean.
I wasn't thinking about X-Men at all. Blink, there you go. I wasn't thinking about X-Men at all, but I think that makes a whole lot of sense because you have so many different characters you can play with. Like each level could be you playing as a different member of the team. Or it could be like, similar to the Fantastic Four or Guardians, where each level you are playing as one member of the team, but you're going out with like a select set of other X-Men. You know what I mean? and you going off to fight Sentinels or the Brotherhood or whoever it is you're going out to fight. That could be cool. But I wonder who would we want to even work on these games? Because EA doesn't have a lot of studios, and many of their studios are kind of set on a certain thing. So like I have here written out what studios we have here from EA. BioWare, who's currently working on Mass Effect and Dragon Age. DICE, who is Battlefield. They're trying to fix Battlefield. Codemasters, which does Dirt Grid Project Cars. Criterion, which is Need for Speed and Burnout. EA Sports, it's EA Sports. Full Circle, they're making the new Skate. Maxis is all about Sims. Motive, we know, is doing Iron Man, and they're doing the Dead Space remake, but they also did Star Wars Squadrons in the past. Respawn, we know they're Titanfall, they're Apex, they're Star Wars Jedi. There's Ridgeline Games, which is the new Battlefield studio, which I believe is supposed to be focused on single player stuff, like story stuff. And then there's Ripple Effect, which is kind of like a Battlefield support type of studio that EA has. So, like, looking at this list, I'm not sure who would make these games. But
yeah, I don't know.
Like I was gonna say, I don't know who would make them, but like of the ones that are here, I think the only ones that would reasonably be BioWare or Motive or Respawn, given that's supposed to be a third-person action adventure game.
Yeah, I don't know who would make them. The only studio here, like if I got to pick of my game match studio, it would probably be none of these studios. But for like Nightcrawler and even I guess for Blink, so for Nightcrawler, like getting the feel of movement down would be incredibly important. So I think it would have to be Respawn because they're the only ones that I trust to understand how good it feels moving as, you know, with specific move sets and types. Just because all their games are so fluid and it feels like, I mean, Jedi Fallen Order, whatever, but especially with like Titanfall and Apex, they understand like it needs to feel fast and and so like for Nightcrawler especially, that would be important. And then when it comes to Blink, I'm just thinking, well, man, that level in Titanfall 2 is one of the sweetest levels of all time. So yeah, like I'm sure they could work with a Blink game.
Yeah. Oh man, what if they did like a Cable game? Because Cable's all about time travel.
That'd
So
also be pretty sweet.
Respawn,
Yeah.
like if we're having a time travel level, have that be the Cable level, and just make the Titanfall 2 level again. Just insert Cable as the character you're playing as, and there you go. Change nothing else.
Well, I mean, it needs to sell. None of these games are going to sell. Let's just preface it with that. Like, it probably wouldn't sell enough. So just make it a Deadpool game, but just make Cable be such an integral part. Like, basically bait and switch people. Be like, it's a Deadpool game, and Deadpool's just like along for the ride, and we actually play as Cable.
Right. Just tie it in with Deadpool 3 when it comes out. Just like, okay, here you go. The movie tie-in. Hey, it's happening.
Oh.
I think one other character. I mean, I was trying to think of others. I think a Captain Marvel game could be pretty cool. Like a space one that we go into a bunch of different planets in space and everything. That could be neat. I thought about She-Hulk. Maybe it's because I'm just like thinking about the show, but I enjoy the show, and I think a She-Hulk game could be reasonably fun. I think. You got any other characters that you think you'd want to see get a game?
No, see, all of the more, I think the more obscure, the more fun I think it would be. I'm just like, I'm so MCU'd out. I'm so like, honestly, and I was someone that went to every single release. I haven't even watched, I haven't watched like any of the more recent movies. I'm definitely burnt out a little bit. It's just like, you know, but like, thinking about a Nightcrawler game did get me going. I was like, yeah.
No, I forgot about
Blink
Nightcrawler.
or Cable, just something that's like not same stuff that they're throwing up on. Like, that's the thing. I don't want tie-ins to the movies. Like, I want these own unique, like, give me weird stuff. You know, that's what I want. And obviously, this is EA and Disney. I'm not stupid. I know it's not happening. But
well, they said that each of the games are going to be telling their own original stories. So like, it's going to be, you know, similar to Spider-Man and Guardians, where like, we're doing our own thing with the characters and stuff.
Well, like, it makes sense with Iron Man, for example, because it feels like they've kind of tabled the character a little bit from the MCU side of things. But this is their, like, we get to have an Iron Man. Get to have him in the consciousness. Makes people think about Iron Man. Makes people think about Marvel. Yada yada. While also like, it's probably great for the developers because they don't feel the pressure to be tied into anything actively going on.
Makes sense.
Just the legacy stuff.
Yeah. gonna be a while before we see these games. I wonder when they're coming out. It's probably not for
Yeah.
at least 2 years. Uh, but hey, I'm
And
looking forward to them.
that's the news, folks. Nothing else happened this week.
No, nothing else really big happened this week. I think we'll do the brief benches real quick, and then we'll run to bring it back since we're wrapping up news anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Just let it rip. I'll jump in at the one part that I'm excited about to talk about it for like 3 seconds. But other than that, just rip through these bad boys. Just
All right. First brief mention we have here. Twitter user Nibel, who, if you're on Twitter, you probably remember him. He had the yellow mob profile picture. Was like news aggregator and everything. So was always posting news stories on Twitter and all. He has left Twitter and Patreon, citing financial reasons as being the main cause. But he also said that Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter added to his decision as well. So sad to see him go. End of an era for sure. Kojima has announced that actress Shiori Kutsuna will be in his next game. For those who may not know who she is, she played, oh my gosh, she was in Deadpool 2. She was Negasonic Warhead's girlfriend in that movie. I'm blanking on the character, and it's crazy because I saw the character.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Deadpool lore. I watched the movie once. It was fine. That was it.
But yeah, she played Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend in Deadpool 2. She's in Kojima's next game, and he also confirmed a couple other things. One, that he has rejected major acquisition offers because he just wants to stay independent. He wants to be able to make what he wants to make on his own terms, which is great. More power to him. And he also confirmed that a Stadia exclusive Death Stranding sequel was not happening. That was never happening. So we can shut that rumor down.
I saw that something probably got like misinterpreted in the translation, and he was just clearing something up.
Yeah. Tyler, here's your time to shine, man. Atomic Heart.
Let's on February.
Releasing February 21st, 2023. Finally got a date, making February even more packed than it already is.
Yeah, it's next year stacked, man. Next year stacked. I'm so excited for Atomic Heart, and I would be like sleeper goatee, but it's like we got Tears of the Kingdom, man. We got so much stuff. It's not a sleeper goatee. I'm sorry, Atomic Heart. Truly, I'm sorry. But you know what? I'd love to have my socks blown off. Maybe I'll just be like, this is it. This is the one. I'm so excited for it that I have to have that optimism, at least as a 1% chance. I'm not saying there's a reasonable chance. It'll probably be Tears of the Kingdom, you know, sequel to the GOAT. Of course, it's got to be at least goatee. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. It's looking really cool. The game continues to maybe just be like, oh, wow, whenever I see it, even if I forget it exists a lot of the time, when it pops back on, I'm like, oh, yeah, that game does look really cool. So I'm definitely going to give it a shot. May not be there on day one because February is looking stacked, but I do want to play this game for sure next year. It might end up being, like you said, like a sleeper goatee, like a underdog goatee contender of sorts next year. The Last of Us TV show, it will be releasing on January 15th. That's when season 1 starts. I'm very much looking forward to that. PlayStation Plus lost close to 2 million subscribers. It was a 4% decrease from the end of June to September 30th of this year. Something that Sony plans to make up for by accelerating the adoption of PS5s, since they say the ratio of PS Plus subscribers for console owners is greater on PS5 than on PS4. Which is interesting. I kind of figured there'd be more, like the ratio would have been greater on PS4 because, bigger install base, but I guess not. That's weird.
Well, it's all about ratio and percentage. So
true,
more people probably on PS4, but
yeah, makes sense. Speaking of PS5 as well, it has surpassed 25 million units sold. Good job, considering, the way the world's been.
A lot of PS5s.
A lot. It's a lot in the grand scheme. I'm sure it's less than what they would have wanted at this point, but still doing well so far.
Because they just they couldn't make the amount they wanted to.
Yeah, but that's ramping up. It's getting better and better every day. Ratchet & Clank's 20th anniversary was this past week. So 5 games from the series are coming to PS Premium this month to celebrate. They are the very first Ratchet & Clank game, then the second one, Goa Commando, then Up Your Arsenal, Deadlocked, and Tools of Destruction. They also added like some classic costumes to Rift Apart on PS5. Neat stuff that they got there going on. God of War 2018 has sold more than 23 million copies. They announced this, I think, the day that reviews for Ragnarok went live. Previously, it had been on record as selling 19.5 million copies in October of last year. So you can ideally attribute some of those sales to PC version,
I was about to
probably.
say this is the PC numbers.
Right. And also maybe like hype for Ragnarok, getting people to buy again as well. Real quick about Ragnarok, reviews went live. 95 on Metacritic. Game's getting great
Let's
scores.
go.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it. The time is coming. Only a couple days away as of recording. Modern Warfare 2 had the biggest opening weekend in franchise history, making $800 million, surpassing the previous record of $775 million set by Modern Warfare 3 over 5 days. Wild. It just
It's
goes to show.
a lot of money.
Exactly. It goes to show how much money Modern Warfare and Call of Duty makes. It also it had the biggest launch for Call of Duty on PlayStation, period. Which goes to show.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Which adds to the next thing that we have here. Why Phil Spencer keeps saying, no, we're not going to take it away. It gives more reasons why they shouldn't take it away. Phil Spencer says Call of Duty will stay on PlayStation as long as there are PlayStation consoles to put the series on. Hopefully, this finally puts that conversation, that talking point to bed, but we'll see. We'll see in the future. He also claims 2023 is going to be a better year for Xbox. And that's a talking point. That's a conversation that we're going to have again on a future episode. I put that on the side.
Can it be worse in 2022?
I don't think it could be. Unless all the games just are an absolute bomb. I don't think
I promise I'm not trolling. It's just
Square Enix revealed that Final Fantasy 16 is 95% done and plans to reveal more information before the end of the year, potentially including the release date. To me, this screams Game Awards, so hopefully you get a Game More release date.
That makes sense.
Also, I imagine Kojima's announcement, whatever his game is, I imagine we get something for a Game Awards. It's gotta be. Him and Jeff Keighley are besties. Onoba. So that team, Onoba, was formerly known as Square Enix Montreal. Okay. They got this new name a couple weeks ago because they got acquired by the Embracer Group earlier in the year. Some of us may remember that. Onoba, which just got this name a few weeks ago, has been shut down by Embracer Group. And some of its staff are now being moved over to Eidos Montreal. So unusual, so odd. You just got a new name and the studio shut down. Very, very weird. Last but not least,
for them.
It is sad though, definitely sad. Last but not least, Overwatch 2 has announced its newest tank hero. They are called Ramatra, I believe is what they are.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't been on the Overwatch because there's been other stuff I've been playing and I've been busy, but yeah, I just saw that was announced. Cool character design. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's another what's the name of the robots in Overwatch world? Like the Psyox or something like that. Whatever robot race. Oh geez,
Listen, man, I logged over 1,000 hours of Overwatch and I couldn't tell you, so you're good.
Yeah, whatever the race Zenyatta is, he is another one of that race, except he's a tank character. Seems like he could be cool. We haven't seen actual gameplay for him, but just an origin trailer, just like his story and stuff. So neat stuff all around. And that is the end of the brief mentions and officially the end of all of the news that we have this week. So I wanted to do a quick segment called Bring It Back, where we'll do this periodically throughout, every now and then when we have time, when we feel passionate about a thing that we want the games industry to bring back. This could be a series, a character, a genre, a game feature or game design idea, anything that used to be, a thing in the games industry, and it just disappeared for some reason, and we want it just to come back. So if you don't have anything, I'll start. I'll kick it off. Just get
you kick it off. I'm kind of I'm thinking about it. I'm brewing.
Yeah. And if you don't have one, that's totally fine. We'll just do the one I got. So I have a couple here, and whenever we do this, each of us would only ever do one. But I have a couple listed here. Start off with the basic one that many people have asked. Sony, you have one job. You've had one job for a very long time. It's not much that we're asking here. Look at me when I say this. Bring back Jak and Daxter. It has been too long. I understand Naughty Dog. You had an idea back in the day and you felt it wasn't working out. So then you just made The Last of Us instead. And that's fine. But the thing is, Naughty Dog, we want Jak and Daxter. PlayStation, You know we want Jack and Daxter. Naughty Dog, if you feel you all have grown up too much and Jack and Daxter is too childish for you all to go back to, that's fine. Totally fine. We get another studio to make Jack and Daxter. Let's ask what's the studio that made Concrete Genie? We can maybe ask them to come in and make a new Jack and Daxter game. Maybe, you know what, Naughty Dog? Let's get away from the super serious stuff. Let's get back to fun times. Let's just reboot Jack and Daxter entirely. Let's just bring it back. PlayStation, I love the more serious, the more grounded cinematic stories we're getting from PlayStation. But let's bring back some fun, some lightheartedness, some just jolly character action platforming type stuff to PlayStation. Bring back Jack and Daxter. Ratchet and Clank is the last surviving mascot from the PS2 days. Sly Cooper had a chance on the PS3 and for some reason has not come back since then. And we got a little tease of him in Ratchet and Clank as a cameo, both Jack and Daxter as a little cameo there, but that's not enough. I want a full game. We want a full game. The PS5 can do wonders for a new Jack and Daxter. The community wants it. We all want it. Do the right thing. Jack and Daxter.
I have some thoughts.
Or just Jack and Daxter, period. Thank you very much. That's the end of my Bring It Back section.
I have some thoughts here, and my thoughts are, I do want a Crash Bandicoot / Spyro Reignited trilogy. I want that for Jack and Daxter 1, but might be a little bit of hot take. I don't want 4 or whatever. I guess if you canonically count Lost Frontier, and X Combat Racing, I guess it would technically be 6, but whatever. I don't want a continuation of the mainline games, mostly because I just thought Jack and Daxter games got worse as I think 1 is a pinnacle platformer, 10 out of 10, perfect platformer. It goes down from there, in my humble opinion. So I don't want a continuation of that, but yeah, like sign me 100% up, or just do what Activision did with Spyro and Crash, man. Just like that would look gorgeous. Just throw that up. I want a ground up remake for the first one for sure.
I'd be okay with that. I would be okay with that. I just want the series to come back in some way, shape, or form, whether it is just a remake of the first or the whole first trilogy, or if we just reboot entirely. It's not a continuation. It's a completely reboot from the ground up, like doing something brand new. I don't care. I just want this series to come back in some way, shape, or form. It's been gone for too long, and it needs to come back.
That's fair. Mine, I'll just piggyback. I was thinking it, but then he said it, and then I was like, okay, well, he said it, so now I'll just counter. My Bring It Back is a series I believe is more well suited to just kind of like keep shooting offshoots, which is, come on, Sony, just give us more Sly Cooper.
Yes.
I love Jack and Daxter 1, as mentioned, but in one of my videos, I talked about this. Kind of like Cooper more as the series. I like it. I think it's just, It lends itself so much better to just like having offshoots. Like it doesn't need it. Like it has lore, but it doesn't need this like ridiculous continuing narrative. It can just be like, we go to a new place, we go to a new location, there's stuff to steal. Love it. It's just it really works as not taking itself too seriously, whereas Jack and Daxter did kind of paint itself into a corner of doing that. Sly Cooper has not. We can just keep on showing up. And also I think the cell shaded, there would be a question of like with Jack and Daxter, like what does it look like visually if we're not going to just make it look nice? Kind of like Crash or Spyro, versus like Sly Cooper, that art style just lends itself so well to just like making it nicer, prettier, but also not super expensive, I imagine, comparatively. I think it's just, I think you can probably pump them out for a lot cheaper. Hell, like they're spending all this development on Ratchet and Clank. That's got to be way pricier than what it would cost to just like make Sly Cooper games. Come on, Sony. It's cheap. I'm not asking for a lot. Just like give it to a B tier studio or C tier that you have like waiting in the wings or whatever, and just be like, hey man, people love Sly Cooper. This is an opportunity. Go make Sly Cooper games.
I'm with you on that. We had the rumors for a while that it was happening. That again,
I know
have the rumors, but
I never believed because I didn't want to get my hopes let down. I wanted to believe, but I was like, you know what? I'll be proven wrong and be excited if it ever happens. But right now, I just kind of look like a smug asshole for being right.
You're not smug. You were just ahead of the curve. You
I
were the
didn't want to
real
be let down, guys. I was afraid of being hurt.
you were
I
the
too
realist
love
and
Sly
we were the
Cooper.
optimist, okay? We were hoping for the best and you were like, guys, be with
It's not happening.
it's not trust me, it's not.
Have you seen what they did with PSVR2?
Of course it's not gonna happen. Oh man, that was bringing back. And now let's talk about what we've been playing this week. I'll say real quick, I played a bit of Modern Warfare 2 this week, really just the multiplayer. I don't have much to say. I talked about the multiplayer a bit last week, I believe. And also it my thoughts really aren't going to be too much different from what they were during the beta. The UI is a bit better to navigate, but it's also still not the best. There are more maps available now. The spawning is still not great on certain maps, but specifically the spawning is not that great. Um, but overall, I am enjoying it. I'm gonna play it a bit more this week, and we'll go from there. We'll go from there. My review for it is still gonna be coming out. It's just gonna be coming out late, but is what
Yeah,
it is.
people are bashing on that UI, man.
Yeah, it's really not the best. I feel like it's better right now than it was in the beta in terms of being able to like get around things, but it's still not all that great. It's still like a far cry from UIs that previous games had. It really shouldn't
Yeah.
have changed like to what it is right now. Um, I,
Um. Okay.
I was gonna ask you, tell me about what you've been playing this week though.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna make the joke. You just been hashtag grinding at that multiplayer.
Yeah, I've been grinding at it. And like I wanted to try to do my review like sooner, but I thought about it and I was like, the battle pass doesn't release until November 16th. I think it just makes sense to include whatever the battle pass is, like just how that progression works. Because they say
Fair
the
enough.
battle
Yeah.
pass, they say the battle pass this time has like as a new type of battle pass, new progression. So I thought to myself, I think it makes sense to include that in my review. So it also because of that, it also just works better in terms of not trying to have to grind this in before Ragnarok or anything like that. I can take my time doing each one. So
Yeah. Makes sense. But yeah, speaking of what I've been playing, I have the past like when did it come out? Thursday, I think. I don't know. It's been like 3 days now, something like that. That
yeah,
I've been playing the Entropy Center.
tell me about it.
Which if you have not heard, obviously it's not Ragnarok, it's not inevitable. It it is a I believe I was looking at the studio, it appears it's their first, and I apologize, studio, I'm blanking on your name. It is their first game. Essentially, when you watch the trailer, it is high on life with the gun talking to you mechanic mixed with you definitely get some kind of Portal 2 vibes or Portal vibes going. Um it's
Stubby
like
Games.
sci-fi, huh?
Stubby Games is the name of the developer.
Stubby games. Yeah. And so it's kind of like got that vibe going for it. It's like, okay, it's clearly indie. I mean, it's an indie game, but it's like got a little bit more than just like your standard what a lot of people would think when you think indie. And it's got like this cutesy aesthetic, but also it's sci-fi and it's got some clear humor going for it. And then you dive a little deeper and like I really, really like this game. Like I mean, I almost say love this game. I gotta see how sixth landing. I'm like roughly 10 hours in. And I think I'm on like the chapter scene, whatever, act 10, and there's 15/16 total. It says 15, but then the secret trophy, because I was like trying to make sure I didn't miss any trophies, said that it was act 16. So
Yeah.
whatever that may be, I assume it's short or whatever. But what I will say without getting, because like it's in the plot, but I also don't want to get too spoilery, of course. But it really taps into so like from a gameplay perspective, I think it's pretty clever. It does a thing that I really like that I've talked about with like Breath of the Wild and can apply to any game, which is like it gives you systems and its puzzles are not like, man, you better do this exactly the way we intended. Now, a lot of them are going to lend itself that way, but I know for a fact I've solved a couple of these puzzles and been like, oh, I don't think I was actually supposed to do it that way, but it worked. They let you play within the logic and of the systems they've created. Now, not
Yeah,
as deep or intuitive as like Breath of the Wild system, overall gameplay systems. But that's okay. It is from a gameplay perspective, walking simulator meets puzzle game. But the puzzles are not super simplistic. I've gotten stumped quite a few times. I'm not like the puzzle master, so I'm sure somebody will be like, "Oh, they were all easy," but like they are like it definitely they're big, they can be elaborate. And I really enjoy like I do think it's super tight from a gameplay perspective for the most part, really solid, especially for a studio's first outing. But to me, the more inherently interesting part is the story, is the
interesting.
just like the narrative themes it's going with. Because essentially the Entropy Center is a like agency, and I think they kind of do a cool thing. So it's just like so much of they understand what makes other games cool, and they incorporated parts of it into it. Like whether they did it or not, it's got some control vibes where it's this giant monolithic company that you're also reading about, and it's like getting those details that humanize it, or like you really start to get a vibe of what everything felt like. Like I sometimes hate little like lore dumps through small stuff in the world, but this isn't like unnecessary files. It's only like computers that aren't everywhere, and they're like computers, but not all of them are on, which makes sense because it's
Yeah,
like this. It's just you and this talking gun, which is like it's not a real personality; it's an AI essentially. So the logic there makes sense, but it's like HR emails, and you're like reading through basically the emails of people, and really does a good job of like explaining kind of the day-to-day operations of it while also giving humor and some heartbreak into everything. And entropy, I don't know if this is what it actually means in like real life or whatever, but essentially you rewind time, which is the main gimmick of the gameplay, which is like you use that to like rewind time, stop rewinding, fast forward it, and essentially turning that this company turns it into kinetic energy, and they use it to constantly stop the world from ending. Like the world explodes, ends, and then this company based in space, essentially, which hires out and contracts human beings to solve puzzles, create that energy, rewind the Earth, and then like keeps on trying to stop the Earth, which kind of brings a lot of philosophical questions of like, are is it too late to save the Earth? Like I think that's an overt theme of like when it comes to like the climate crisis and whatnot.
right.
How late is too late? And there's just some really interesting themes and where it's going narrative I like, and they touch on that with some of that lore and the nihilism and existentialism it would come being an employee of a company like this. And I just think it's like super interesting. Uh, it does feel a little long. It feels like pacing wise, maybe they could have kept it a little more tight. So I think it's possible that as it goes on, maybe that narrative loses a bit of its like edge. But I still, regardless of that, like hell of a first game. Right now, I'd probably give it like a 9 because I think that
Wow.
story carries it from something that I would consider an 8 to just like I really think they nail a lot of the little things when it comes to like good game storytelling. And I think the mechanics of the gameplay are super solid, even if they're not like 100% tight. It's not Portal's level of just like super snappiness, but it's really solid. It's definitely not like obtrusive or anything like that. So yeah, like that's where I'm trending. Could change for the better or worse, but that's just where like I'm at right now.
Nice. That it's sounding like way better than I thought it was gonna be, and that's not even to say that I thought it was gonna be bad. Like when I saw the trailer for it, I thought to myself, yeah, it looks good. It looks like it'll be a really good game, really interesting premise. Like the puzzles, they could be interesting. The whole trying to rewind time and keep the Earth from being destroyed and everything, like really interesting premise and all like that. I'm happy to hear that the story really dives into those deeper themes that you were talking about, those deeper, heavier themes. And it seems like the story is not just window dressing for the portals and like in the puzzle gameplay. It's really like, no, there's a thought-provoking story here that supplements the puzzles and the gameplay and everything like that. So it actually makes me way more excited for the game than I initially was. and I'm definitely want to see if I could try to make time to play it now. Just hearing about it all like that sounds really awesome. I'm happy you're so high on it.
Yeah, I would say it toes the line where it's like it's there, it's surface level, but it's not forcing you over the head. Like it's not hitting you over the head with the dread. Although it's like it's definitely there at moments. I'll also say, which I forgot to say, it does set pieces really well. Like
Okay.
there are moments where it's like not just like there is a little bit more to the gameplay or like moment to moment other than walking, puzzle, sad, like reading emails. There are a couple set piece moments that I thought they pulled off pretty well. Was impressed with, given again, first game, it'd have been understandable if it was literally just walking and then the puzzles, but there's a couple moments that they used to kind of like bolster the narrative and like get you to go from like point A to point B. And I thought those set pieces were really well done and pretty cool. But yeah, it does the thing where it's like there's a lot of humor to offset some of the darker stuff, and it's like surface level. If you wanted to put in headphones and just play the puzzles, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's like a 7 or 8. It's solid. But I think if you dive a little bit deeper, those things are there, and I do think there's intent, and there is like they want you if you want to like dig that deep. And I think it's like some people will be like, oh, you're looking for something that's not there. I think it's there. I even just because at this point I may be this game's biggest fan, debated like reaching out to the developer and like seeing if they wanted to do an interview because like I love a lot of these topics, a lot of these themes. So
No, if you could definitely do that, do it. Like that'd be awesome. Let's have a
yeah,
conversation with them about like what made them decide, to do this story and how they thought about how they handling it the way they did. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
And I'm for sure doing a review for my channel.
yes, where is your channel? What is your channel? Where can people find that review?
Good Game We Lost on TikTok and YouTube. I'm not really putting stuff on IG anymore. Doesn't do numbers, doesn't really draw anything. So sorry, people that are loyal to Instagram Reels.
Well, thank you for telling me about that, Tyler. Thank you for telling us about that. And yeah, like he said, go check out his TikTok and his Instagram. That way you can definitely go see his review when it's up, as well as all his other content that he puts up over there. Thank you all for watching and or listening. Hit up our site, playtowingames.wordpress.com. It's the home for all of our content over here at Play to Win. So check it all out. Hit us up over on Twitter and Instagram at Play to Win Game. I was about to say something very different. At Play to Win Game. Follow us over there for updates on the show and other things that we may post over there. Subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell if you're here. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you thought about the show. Let us know what you're thinking about Entropy Centre. If you are playing it, let us know if
For
you
sure.
are
Yeah.
as excited about it and is enjoying it as much as Tyler is. And subscribe on podcast services. Leave a 5-star review. It's very helpful, very appreciative, and we thank you so much for it all. With that being said, you can find me over on Twitter at TylerMiller2496, where I post about games, movies, and other things I'm watching. And as Tyler said, you can find him on TikTok and Instagram at Good Game We Lost, right? For both of them.
Yep, just for both. Good Game We Lost.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching and or listening, and we'll talk with you all next time. Have a great one.
Have a good one, everyone.